Well, we are officially done with 1 week of college football, right? Not really. That was just week 0 that happened yesterday. I'm going to go through it. What are my big takeaways on it? The first thing, this is unfortunate. I said this a few months ago. The new clock rule has reared its ugly head. 12 plays and half the quarter is gone in one drive, just like the NFL. The whole clock not stopping on the first down kind of stinks. And it's all for showing us more ads. It shortens the game. Definitely less ads overall with this approach. So that's not true at all. The ads are actually going to get longer because now that game time is shorter because the clock doesn't stop on first down, which is a little charm that we all loved about college football in comparison to the NFL. The fact that that's not there anymore, they can actually put more ads into the game. And them doing this, keeping the clock running like the NFL on first downs, it's just going to enable them to make the ads longer because the game's going to be shorter. It is a terrible thing. I said it was bad, and we can all look at, like Big Noon and all of their ads. They've completely ruined college football. Same thing with the CBS 3:30 game. The games were getting to be pretty long, I agree, but it wasn't due to the clock stopping on first downs. It was due to the advertisements going just completely ridiculously out of control. The ads in college football are so much worse than the NFL. It is absolutely off the rails, and it starts and ends with Big Noon, which has killed the whole idea. I mean, think about it. Who remembers, Ohio State versus Iowa? It's a massive blowout, but for whatever reason, a game that starts at noon ends at 4 o'clock because they've got to fit in 5,000 ads. This is 1,000%. They're like, oh, the games are longer. No, the games were always the same length. It's just the advertisements. There's more of them. There's more commercials, and that's the whole reason this was implemented. Now they can put even more ads into it because the game time is shorter, and there's an entire reason why college football is different than the NFL. You have teams like Navy and Army and teams that love running the ball and eating up a bunch of clock. At least if we were able to stop the time for a little bit on first down as the chains got respotted, you could at least not destroy an entire quarter running the ball 16 times. Now, obviously it didn't have an effect on the Notre Dame game, but it's just something where NFL and college are both different. There is no triple option offense in the NFL where teams are just going to run it. That's why we did not need this rule change. I thought it was terrible. I said it was going to make college football worse, and it's done just that. And they're like, we need to shorten the games. No, we just need less ads, and this whole thing started with the addition of Big Noon. And now the Big Ten has some of their biggest games on Big Noon, and it's just horrible for the country. It's terrible for college football. If you're on the West Coast, you're not going to be watching football at 9 a.m. It's just ridiculous. Next, we do have, take a look at this, the new scoreboard for NBC. NBC always does great with their graphics. This does look very nice, very impressive. Remember, NBC is going to have a few big-time Big Ten games. They've got week 1, West Virginia taking on Penn State. They've got Ohio State, Notre Dame this year. They've got Ohio State, Michigan State. So you're going to see some big-time Big Ten games on NBC. They've got the 7:30 primetime window, and I am absolutely ecstatic to see something like this because I've always liked NBC and their graphics package. And they debuted their brand new scoreboard there with the game between Notre Dame and Navy. And then we also got a brand new Fox scoreboard, which is huge when it comes to the Big Ten. This is certainly an improvement. The last one was very bland. It didn't even include the logo. So I think this is a good job by Fox to come out with this. Maybe you could argue slightly too big, but that's nitpicking it. I think it is very good. And then, of course, what a massive letdown this is. ESPN still going with that Bally Sports massively long scoreboard. I thought they were really going to change it, but this is the 4th year they've gone with the same exact one. What a letdown that is. So they still got that butt ugly scoreboard. And then we've got this. And I warned people, the Vanderbilt situation is just ridiculous. So now Vanderbilt, with the help of 2 cranes, is suspending a scoreboard in midair, and because of the weather and the wind, it was flapping around last night in midair, and there was a lightning delay. I mean, we're going to have, I predict week 1 of college football, there's going to be like 20 lightning delays. This year, the weather with the thunderstorms, it is constant. It's almost every day, even here in Ohio, and I think we're just going to have a ton of lightning delays. It's so much, and Vanderbilt had a lightning delay. They kicked off at around 9:10 Eastern Standard Time against Hawaii, and it's just such a clown show looking at that. And then this stuff, I just have to comment on this, and then I'll talk about the games really quickly. The whole motivation is the most overrated thing in all of sports. Oh my God, no one picked Georgia. Now they've got motivation. Let me give Georgia some motivation. I think Georgia's going to go 0-12. There you go. I think I just guaranteed that Georgia's going to win the national championship. Like, that stuff is just, it's so overrated. And they're like, the reason we won is because everyone thought we were going to go 7-5. You know, Ohio, you want to know how much motivation Ohio State had to beat Michigan last year on their home field, and they lost by 22 points. The motivation stuff is just so dumb. But you know what, Georgia? I think you're going to go 0-12. Absolutely. You're terrible this year. I think, you know what, guys? I just guaranteed Georgia the national championship by saying that. The motivation they're going to take after I just said that, you see how stupid it is? It's just so dumb. But let's get to the actual games. I'll quickly run through them. You know, the big story yesterday, Notre Dame destroying Navy, easily covering the spread. Navy, we all know, is terrible. I'm not going to sit here and overreact to this game. Sam Hartman's a solid quarterback. You know, the idea that people are saying he's like a Heisman contender, that's ridiculous. That's just a massive overreaction to week 0. Sam Hartman is not going to be a Heisman contender, but they do have a very solid running back. Look, Notre Dame is a good team, and a lot of people think they were a little bit underrated, being ranked 13 in the preseason poll when FPI had them at number 10, and there were other metrics that really liked Notre Dame. Even last year, they had the bad year, they had the quarterback issues, they still finished off strong. So Notre Dame should be a good team, and that's going to be a massive challenge for Ohio State, probably starting Devin Brown week 4 on the road. Very likely both of those teams are going to be undefeated. Notre Dame at that point probably going to be top 10. Ohio State, it's probably going to be like Ohio State being ranked 3rd, Notre Dame being ranked 9th, so a top 10 matchup, week 4, 7:30 on NBC. That's great football. You love the non-conference home-and-home games for sure. How about Jacksonville State? They are 1-0 right now in FBS play. Their first game, and they beat the decrepit UTEP by 3 points in a lower scoring game. UMass beats New Mexico State. Wow. Is UMass football back? That is, listen, 41-30, that's a higher scoring game. San Diego State beats Ohio. I know a lot of people were in on Ohio plus the 3 to win this game outright. They have the quarterback injury early in that game. That pretty much screwed them. It looked like Ohio was the better team. They outgained San Diego State by almost 100 yards, even with their backup quarterback. San Diego State is not going to be good this year at all. I would not be surprised if they went 5-7, but they got the win because of the injury to the quarterback. You got USC beating San Jose State. I am not high on USC this year. I said San Jose State would cover this spread just because USC's offense or USC's defense is still has Alex Grinch. I don't trust them at all. They did get a bunch of transfers. You know, they got highly ranked kids. They still have Corey Foreman, but we'll have to see with USC. They're probably going to lose a minimum of 2 games. I would be shocked if they made the playoff this year because their defense just isn't good enough. And also the Pac-12 is a really good deep conference in its final year. Louisiana Tech beats Florida International. I mean, Florida International, I think they were up 14-0 early in this game. What a weird score that is, 22-17. But Florida International was horrible last year, so this is really not that good of a sign for Louisiana Tech. You should have beaten them by more. Louisiana Tech was 10-point favorites. They don't even cover. And then Vanderbilt barely beats Hawaii in the stadium that's under construction. They win that game by 7. They got up early. They had like 21 points through like the first quarter and a half. and then they hang on. That's actually a decent showing from Hawaii there, because Hawaii's just so bad, and they were like 17-point underdogs, so they end up covering that spread. The number one takeaway, I guess, is that Notre Dame by far was the most impressive. You know, USC, they're the same thing they were last year. They've got Caleb Williams. They've got a transfer receiver who's good. We get it, but the defense is just not good enough. And with how deep the Pac-12 is, I don't know. Notre Dame, though, I mean, it could be one of those debates. I don't think it will. I think Notre Dame will probably go 9-3 or 10-2, but it's going to be one of those annoying things. If Notre Dame does go 11-1 with their schedule, they're going to be knocking on the door of the playoff, and it comes down to the idea of you don't play in a conference championship game. What happens if they have one loss? You give Notre Dame credit for scheduling a tough schedule, but that could be something that gets annoying. Of course, if they go 10-2, they have zero chance of making the playoff. Although I will say, when it comes to a two-loss team, it seems like a lot of people are thinking this is the year a two-loss team makes the 4-team playoff. It feels like there's a number of two-loss teams based on their schedule that could potentially make it. Probably the most notable being from the SEC due to the tougher schedule in conference, but we'll have to see. Either way, that's just kind of a wrap-up of week 0. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.